Welcome to Wealth and Wellness. I am your host, Eric Jetson. If you find value in this show, please like and share with other like-minded and conscious beings. This podcast is for seekers and lovers of knowledge and designed to supplement your self-development journey. If I can add value to somebody else, they can then add value to at least one more person, causing a ripple effect. We will unpack the different aspects of wealth and wellness and get perspectives from experts in their fields so you can start making better choices today. It's time to elevate with Eric Jetson.
If you want to accomplish something, you have to go for it and make it happen. You can't sit down and wait for it to come to you. You have to go and open the door.
Today's guest is a husband, father, crypto enthusiast, and investor. He is a researcher, node operator, and an expert in generating passive income. Mario is committed to leaving a legacy of wealth and wellness to future generations. I admire this man's eagerness to stay growing and learning, and his desire to leave an abundant legacy educating others. I am excited for him to share his wisdom and get his perspective on wealth and wellness, as well as to learn about other wealth-building vehicles. I have the great pleasure of introducing our guest, Mario, the NodeDefender DeSousa. Mario, thanks for coming on to the show today. I'm really looking forward to learning from you. Let the audience get to know you a little bit and what got you to where you are today.
Thank you so much for a very kind and warm introduction. My name is Mario, and my journey has been quite extraordinary so far. So just to give people a little bit of my background as to where I came from, I was actually born in Portugal. I lived in Portugal until I was 12 years old. I then moved to a small island in the UK called Jersey. I was there for a few years. Went back to Portugal, got a little of an academic going there, and went back to Jersey, and then I ended up where I am now, which is in New Jersey. So I came to New Jersey initially because my dad had moved here many years ago, and so I came to visit the family, and I just fell in love with the place. It was my first time in America, so I really fell in love with. I mean, in the East Coast, I know it varies throughout the United States, but in the East Coast, there's very fast living. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that fast pace and just this economy that's like hustling and, let's get it going, let's get it done. So I went back to Jersey, got my stuff ready, and just moved out here. Just took the leap, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna take a shot and get it, experience it, and we'll see what happens. And yeah, I've been here for 8 years. I was blessed to have an uncle here that's been here for a while. He's an entrepreneur, and he's my mentor. I look up to him a lot, and me and him got together and we started a business together. It's a cell phone, computer, and tablet. It's sort of like an electronic store, but more niche, not so much all type of electronics. And we do sales and repairs. So we started that. It's going to be 8 years in August. So that's been my entrepreneur journey. We got that going. We then opened up a second location right as COVID started. So that was interesting. We were already in the deal. We were already trying to pick up the location, and then everything started and the lockdown happened, and we were like, you know what, now we've already got the key, so we're not turning back. Let's see if we can make this work. And yeah, that's kind of how my entrepreneur journey began. Like I said, I look at him as like a mentor. He's someone that I look up to a lot. He's helped me. Definitely, I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am today as fast if I didn't have his help and his guidance, for sure. And then it's crypto. Just in 2017, I became aware of, I was already aware of Bitcoin, but it wasn't until 2017 that I started really becoming more involved in investing and researching as well. I experienced that bull run, that euphoric run at the end of 2017 and early 2018. I experienced the gains, I experienced the losses. I honestly felt terrible at the beginning of 2018 as it went down. I really lost my interest with cryptocurrency. And it wasn't until late 2020 coming across Coach JV and the Academy that sparked that back up. And I started taking it a little bit more serious. And that's not the most important part. I did meet my wife here, and we got married in 2014. And we have 2 beautiful daughters, and we have our first baby boy in the way.
So awesome. Congratulations, dude. That's so inspiring. You're creating your own American dream. Honestly, you're taking ownership of your life. What was the conversation like in your household growing up surrounding wealth, or even money for that matter?
It was not good, honestly. Like, okay, so I can say that from my mom and my stepdad's side, it was much better. But my experience around wealth and the mindset around wealth was, I want to say that my subconscious programming around wealth and mindset in general is was really poor. And that's actually something that I've struggled with and I've really made an effort to improve these last couple of years. It's just that mindset of the way that you kind of look at money and how you interpret uh, money coming in and how you should be handling that money coming in. Should you be saving? Should you be investing? So my mom and my stepdad definitely did a much better job at educating me with that, and they definitely like, I want to say that the really core values that I have as far as working hard, and if you want to accomplish something, you have to go for it and make it happen. You can't sit down and wait for it to come to you. You have to go and open the door. But unfortunately, from my dad's side, it wasn't so great. Even though it's funny because I do come from a background. Um, my great grandfather, my grandfather both had their own businesses in Portugal and in these like the little small villages. So you would think that I would have like really good programming, but unfortunately, they weren't very good at passing this on to the next generation. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. And that leads me to my next topic, which is legacy. And it's so important to me. And, as a father, I know you can relate. And I can also relate. I grew up in an upbringing that the conversation around money was negative. It was very lack based. And, yeah, unfortunately, we don't like realize that it's lack based or negative until we grow up and we mature and start to manage our own finances and get around other people. So what is your legacy and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, it's just to really change. Like, I would really like for my daughters to have a different, and my son, obviously, to have a different perspective and perception around money and around how you should be treating money. Because for me, I know that I definitely should have been doing things very differently for many years of my life. And it took me making a lot of mistakes to realize that. And I'm grateful for those mistakes, don't get me wrong, because they've taught me really valuable lessons that I wouldn't be able to have learned otherwise. But really, the legacy that I hope to give to my children is just that they can create, they can be leaders, they can go out there and really make a difference in the world. That the creation of freedom really isn't that unattainable, because for me growing up, it was this perception of like, oh, the rich are able to accomplish this, or the wealthy are able to accomplish this, and us low middle class can't do that. And that is completely wrong. I mean, we are all more than capable of achieving anything, because those people are humans just like us. And of course, there might be a legacy behind some of them, but yeah, that's what I would really like to provide for my generation, or for the following generation.
I love that. Yeah, it sounds like your grandfather and great grandfather, yeah, they did very well, but they weren't able to teach it very well. They didn't pass that along. And that's sometimes the case in the dynamic. In other dynamics, it's, they did it and they might have been able to teach it, but the next generation didn't want that life, or for whatever reason, or didn't appreciate the personalities of the people that had built this legacy or built the company, in a lot of the cases. And so how do we find that delicate balance of, leading by example and following through by accountability and our work ethic, but also being able to teach in a way where it's not forceful. And we almost want to inspire that next generation to ride these coattails and continue to build things up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really important, because what happened specifically in my generation's case was that my great grandfather created this business. He then passed it on to my grandfather, and my grandfather worked relentlessly. He, his work ethic was amazing, but he just never passed that on to the next generation, which was my dad, my uncle, my aunt. So they didn't capture any of that. And so they grew up really not wanting to carry on that legacy, or for that matter, even create their own legacy. Since my grandfather was so absent from their lives because he was just working constantly, they had a local bakery. So most of his time was most of his work hours were actually at night, you know, doing the bread and then very early in the morning making the deliveries. So during the day he would be sleeping. So he was a very absent father figure. So therefore, it created this gap in the upbringing of my dad and my uncle and aunt. So they didn't capture any of that. So it's very unfortunate because all of that legacy that was created by my great grandfather passed on to my grandfather. It ended up just disappearing because my grandfather and my grandma eventually, you know, they got older. They weren't keeping up with the place as much as they would have been able to. So they ended up selling it off, and that's it. It's gone. So
yeah, and we've seen that, you know, time and time again with the generational shifts, you know, from the boomers to Gen X, and you know, the boomers, they it was a different time back then, but yeah, you know, they thought we could have a bunch of kids and we'll just work, you know, until we're 65, and that's the American dream or whatever. We'll be able to have all of our stuff. But now it's not the case. You know, everything's more expensive, and we're trying to see how it's like a competition to see who can work more, and it's very tough. Like you might have all this time, but no money to be able to enjoy that time, or vice versa. You might have all this money, but no time to spend it, or you're at work and your family's spending that money, you know, without you. So, it is a very delicate balance, but I appreciate you sharing your wisdom and experience about, because it's a message that I want to get out to the community. It's, hey, how can we educate the youth, these future generations, to just be aware, you know, of the environment, of the situations, and hey, we can't, you know, work until we're 65, working the same job, or even just working a job for that long. Like it's not going to translate to my definition of wealth, you know, and everyone has their own definition, but what does wealth mean to you, Mario?
For me, that the perception of wealth for me has changed a lot. I want to say maybe in the last like 1 to 2 years. For me, it means freedom more than anything else at the moment. Like freedom to be able to unconditionally spend time with my family. You know, let's say that there's an opportunity to go somewhere, you know, we just go. There's no second thoughts about, oh, but we can't afford it because, you know, it's going to cost this. It's just creating memories, creating quality memories, being able to be where you want to be or where you feel good as well, because oftentimes you end up being in a place because you kind of have to be, and you might not feel happy at that place. So just having the freedom to live anywhere you want to live, experience things that will allow you to create memories, essentially. But it's like you said, there's a very hard balance. It's very hard to balance the best of both worlds, and you either have time and no money, or money and no time, and it's really hard to keep that balance, for sure.
Definitely. Well, I know in a bit you're going to share with us a strategy that you've implemented into your life to have your money work for you rather than you having to work for your money. And I think that's amazing. And there's so many different vehicles nowadays, you know, as we're going through this technological revolution. But before we get there, I just want to ask about your wife's attitude about money, and if her upbringing and attitude was the same that you had, and how you guys have come together to have a shared vision, a shared dream.
Yeah, absolutely. So she also comes from a very humble family, you know, nothing out of the ordinary, just normal, everyday people, not wealthy. And she's definitely better than me at managing money to the aspect of saving. But we've both realized that that's not the best way to really create generational wealth, or wealth for that matter. I mean, you could save your entire life and you're going to end up with whatever you've saved, or you can invest your entire life and you will end up with what you've saved plus the capital that you've occurred from those investments. So that's definitely something that we've both been more in accordance, especially the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. We've both realized that investing is way more effective than saving. And really having the mindset of, let's work, let's do this, and then we'll retire, and then we'll have this. We're just really trying to maximize what we're investing right now so that we can potentially even retire earlier and get, have time. Because essentially what I'm trying to do is just use money to buy me time. And that time translates to me having time to spend with my family, having time to go on vacations, just create memories, like I was saying.
So what would be one piece of advice you'd give to somebody that starts earning an income for the first time and in regards to investing?
I think the best way to go about it, we hear this all the time from a lot of people, is that you have your full-time job, you take your full-time job and you create a side gig, right? And then from that side, something that you've got a passion for or that you're just trying to make happen, you work on that until it eventually replaces your full-time job. So then you're able to do that full-time, and then you're able to just start investing into other things that can generate you an income, whether it's passive or active. I mean, it's okay if it's active. Passive is really hard. It's really hard to really, there's not a lot of stuff that you can invest that is 100% passive. But as you start generating your wealth, you start to have more opportunities to invest in those more passive income vehicles.
Okay. And I know you are a crypto enthusiast. So I'd imagine, you'd have to talk it over with your wife and say, hey, I would like to invest the money here. How does she feel about the crypto asset class and all the different, speculative vehicles that you could use to invest your money these days?
So last year in January, I emptied out our savings account, and I'm still here. So it didn't go as bad as it has for some people. I've heard some people that they got kicked out of their apartment or their house or whatever. But yeah, she had a pretty hard time understanding it in the beginning, just because she wasn't as involved as I was. And, it really took sitting down with her and explaining to her what this was, that it wasn't just some magic internet money, like they call it, or that it wasn't gambling. I mean, it is to some extent, but there's some fundamentals there. So once she understood it, I mean, and then she started seeing, I mean, it was at a good point where I was able to show her immediate returns, because it was January 2021, the market was moving up. So within 2-3 weeks, it was already almost double of what we put in. So I was like, hey, look, see? And, I was a genius. And now that it's down like 90%, I'm not so much of a genius, but yeah, she understood it at the end, and she's all up for it. And then she ended up dabbling into some of her own investments too. That's
great. What advice would you give to the young women out there, that don't understand it, and maybe they're in a relationship where, it's causing some friction? What encouragement would you give to the young women to, start to understand this new technology and this new asset class?
So I guess the best way to explain it, I guess, is it's the way that a lot of people like to explain it, which is comparing it to the internet boom, right? Where you started seeing all those companies show up, like Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and what those companies were creating at the time, and even cell phones. I mean, people didn't believe that was going to be the future. People resisted it a lot. There was a lot of resistance from mainstream media, and actually mainstream news media is at fault for a lot of the bad stuff that's said about cryptocurrency, which most of it we know it's not true. So I would say to just spend a little bit of time actually researching what each one of these, I mean, not all of them obviously, but look at the top 10, understand what Bitcoin is. I really think it's important to start off with Bitcoin. And you might be an advocate for Bitcoin, you might not be an advocate for Bitcoin, but Bitcoin being the creator of this space, right? It's really what set sail to this boat, and understanding what Bitcoin is, why it was created, how it works, blockchain, and then moving on to understanding what blockchain is. Then all these different projects that are created on the blockchain and what they're trying to solve or trying to accomplish with blockchain. So then you can move on to Ethereum and the fact that you can create smart contracts, meaning that decisions can be made in a decentralized manner where party A and party B have a smart contract that will facilitate that decision. So I would say just spend a little bit of time researching it, because the same way that the internet and a lot of the stuff that we have today as far as technology was seen as this thing that was not going to happen or had resistance back then, that's the same way that I see crypto right now. It's just that same resistance.
Definitely. And if you open your eyes a little more, I don't see so much resistance. I see crypto.com putting their name on the Staples Center, and I see FTX putting their name on the umpires of Major League Baseball. I'm just going to leave it at that. So tell me about nodes. What is the difference between a node and a validator for those advanced crypto enthusiasts out there? And then we'll dive into some technique.
Nice. Okay. So, any type of cryptocurrency, essentially a cryptocurrency or a blockchain is a network. And like any network needs computers. These computers, also known as servers, also known as nodes. So a blockchain that operates on a proof of stake type of mechanism, they require validators. Every blockchain has nodes, but there are several types of nodes. So you have nodes that are full nodes, and those full nodes are essentially a full copy of the blockchain. So if you have a blockchain that has 1,000 nodes, each one of those 1,000 computers has an entire copy of the blockchain downloaded into it. So what that does, it creates decentralization, it creates redundancy, stability to the network. One of them goes down, there's still another 999 that have a full copy of it. Then you have validator nodes. Validator nodes are really what facilitate the economical ecosystem of the blockchain. So a validator node, for not to go too technical, but for those people that are into crypto, whenever you're staking, and by staking, I mean the true form of staking, not when you're earning on platforms like Nexo and crypto.com and stuff, when you're actually taking your coins into your wallet and you're staking them into a validator, that you're just basically providing liquidity to the validator. And so the validator then facilitates things like swaps and lending, and it just supports the network's economical infrastructure in this case. And yeah, so essentially all blockchains need nodes.
Okay, so if I wanted to invest in a node because I like the sound of earning interest on my money, where would be a good place to research, and what are some nodes that are maybe already popular or dominating that space?
Yep. So the node space has gone through a lot of up and downs the last couple of months. We had a pretty big boom, which emerged from a company called Strongblock. Strongblock started this new concept of operating a node, which was basically they operate it for you and you pay them a maintenance fee. It was very Ponzi-like structured. So that created, obviously, a lot of people were skeptical. And they were right to be skeptical, because actually just about an hour ago, they released a bombshell. But a node in general, it's something good to get into. It's just that a lot of these projects arised from the hype, and they had no fundamental, no utility, and a lot of them are going away. The ones that are staying are starting to restructure. So what this means is that the opportunity or the possibility for you to make these 300% yearly gains, basically during the bull run, they were sustainable, but now they're not. So we're starting to fall back into a more sustainable model, like a 30%, 20%, which is still amazing. I mean, where do you get that in a traditional market, right? So for those people that are a little bit more technical, because nodes typically they do require a little bit of a technical expertise, because you have to set up the server, and those servers really typically run on a Linux user interface, so command line interface. So you do have to have a little bit of a technical background. Strong is really the only one that makes it easy, but now they've introduced some taperings and some stuff that obviously what it means is that you're not going to get these 300% returns anymore. You're going to get a 100% return. So over the life of it.
Now, what's the difference between a node and, well, okay, actually, I'll rewind. So does a node require hardware?
Yes, they
Okay.
do require hardware. Yes. With
And
Strong, no, because they host the hardware for you, but they always do require some kind of hardware. Yep.
okay. And another way that you could earn, crypto is through a miner, which is a separate piece of hardware, correct? All right.
Yes.
So we're just, laying out the basics here for those that are confused. And now I hear a lot about DAOs, and I hear, hey, you can get this token and you stake it on their platform, and they will, there's a compound interest effect and very high APY percentage. So what is the difference between a node and a DAO, and is the future brighter for one more so than the other?
Yeah, two completely separate things. So there is definitely a future for both. The nodes are essentially the infrastructure so think of it like a railroad. So the nodes are the railroads, and then a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So think of it like a company, but anybody that invests in the company then has a voting power in the company. So you already get that a lot with many of the blockchains and many of these cryptos, that once you stake, you can participate in voting. But a DAO essentially is a decentralized autonomous organization that would run on a blockchain. So they can both coexist. Now, what you're referring to as far as the high APYs, those also, they did great while we're in the bull run. Now they're a lot of question marks because the prices of them have gone down dramatically, and these APYs have obviously decreased. But some of them that have a very good use case, they could still be around. Like some of them are trying to solve for being, like, for example, a reserve currency on the blockchain. Or you see a lot of DAOs coming up. There's a DAO in Wyoming where they're actually buying real plots of land, and then you can buy a portion of the land as an NFT, and so you become a citizen of that DAO, which is like it's crazy. I'm trying to remember the name. I think it's called City DAO. Don't recall it 100%, but
Okay.
I know it's in Wyoming.
So I know there are, some projects that have a better reputation than others. Olympus DAO is one that is pretty credible. And with the market being, relatively down and prices being low, is that one that someone could start to dollar cost average in hopes that it will, appreciate in value in a couple of years?
Yep. Olympus DAO was actually the first one I ever got into. And then I actually ended up exiting completely Olympus DAO and moving over to Hector DAO. And I am still in Hector DAO. So I rode that thing all the way down, and I'm going to continue holding it because I do see them making improvements, and they're releasing a bank, like a crypto bank, which I've not really looked into. So I don't know how it works, but
okay.
Yeah, I do see them coming out with a lot of features.
Nice. Yeah, I too invested in a handful of DAOs and still holding. So what are some particular strategies that you've implemented to help create or build your wealth by utilizing crypto?
I think one of the most important things that I can let everybody know is that it's very important to secure profits. And once you've secured those profits, not to spread them out into the same asset class. So I've made this mistake where throughout the whole of last year, I was taking profits from various different cryptocurrencies that were increasing in price. And what I found myself doing was just putting them back into another cryptocurrency that I thought was still undervalued compared to the rest of the space. My mindset was that history was going to repeat itself, similar to 2017, and that we were going to see a bull run or a euphoric moment where all altcoins would have this explosion, because that's something that happened in 2013 and it happened in 2017, and it didn't happen this time. We had many cryptocurrencies that never even got close to their all-time highs from 2017. So that was one mistake that I did, which was completely roll over 100% of the profits into another crypto. My strategy going forward is going to be that if I reach an exit target and I make my exit, if I feel that it's a conscious decision to put some more money into another crypto that I feel has the potential to go up, then I'm going to be very strict and only do a 50%. So securing capital, because at the end of the day, as much, and I know that people fall for this a lot in especially in the cryptocurrency, which is you kind of develop a really strong liking for a particular project. So a lot of people use the term that don't marry your coins, don't marry your crypto. And so it's really important that at the end of the day, you're really trying to create generational wealth for yourself. And so securing profits coming out of the market as a winner is very important, because the market can turn around, especially crypto. It can turn around in a second.
Definitely. Yeah. So say you take profits and you've got idle cash, you're sitting on the sidelines in a stable coin. What is your strategy?
Yep. There's a few things. I mean, if you want to stay within crypto, there's ways for you to stake or earn on your stable coin. And there's a lot of platforms where you can make 6 to 10% on USDT. I know that a lot of people are probably not too fond of USDT right now with all this stuff that happened with Terra Luna. But USDC seems to be the chosen one. It seems to be the stable coin that has very strong backing, and it seems to be the one that's most likely going to dominate the space in the next couple of years. So you can make easily. I mean, I know that Nexo pays you like 6%, I think, on USDT. There's a platform that I'm getting into right now. It's called Freeway, and Freeway I don't know if you're familiar with Nexo and Celsius and how they operate through a lending kind of way. So Freeway does things a little bit different. And I think you know about that because we discussed it at the conference. But yeah, Freeway, they actually take your money. Just to give all the listeners a quick explanation. They take what you deposit. They then go to a lender. They get a collateralized loan on it, and they quantum trade. Those quantum trades are highly profitable. There's a report that was done from an audit in Europe that showed that they're actually making 4 to 5 times more the profit that they're paying out, and they're paying out 43%, which is insane. But so that's a good place. I wouldn't put all my money in there just because it's pretty high returns, and I don't know, like it's usually when something is too good to be true, it oftentimes ends up being too good to be true, but still take advantage of it. So I would put a little bit of money there, a little bit of money in stable coins. And then I think it's good to real estate. Real estate has proven throughout history that it's a good investment. There's other things out there like automated Amazon and Walmart stores is something that I'm looking at recently. And that's very passive. So that's something that people could look towards as well.
Awesome. Yeah, if I'm a 16 to 20-year-old, I got my first job, and I want to follow this rule of investing 10% into myself. Whether that's into a passion of mine or my side hustle, or if it's I'm buying crypto or buying stocks. And say I cover my bases. I got some Bitcoin, I got some Ethereum, and we'll say I got some XLM, and now I got a little bit left that I want to spend. I can afford to be a little more speculative. So what is a strategy to get involved in say a node or a DAO or something, especially at this point in time where we don't know where the market is going to go, but it could be a good time to at least dollar cost average in. So what's a particular strategy for the speculative percentage of your risk tolerance that you would allocate? And how would you go about doing that? Do you wait till the node price goes down, or?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would recommend waiting for some kind of price correction. It's very important to remember that prices go up, they also always come down. So if there's a particular project that you found, you're super interested in it and you want to make an investment, but you're looking at the price and it's just been going up consistently for the past 24 hours or 2 days. So I would personally recommend waiting, because there's always going to be some kind of retracement. So never buy on an uptrend. Always do your buying when it's on a downtrend. And as far as nodes, I will mention a couple of projects. I know that Strong is going through this phase and they just tapered down their rewards, but they are still, in my opinion, a pretty good investment vehicle, because you will put your money in and it will generate returns for you. So it might not be these returns that it was a year ago, but it's still some pretty good returns. If you're okay with like setting up servers and stuff and you're more technical, I really like Flux nodes. Flux is a decentralized platform like Amazon Web Services. So developers can go there, they can create like a virtual private server or an instance, as Amazon calls it, and you can deploy apps in a decentralized manner. And so you as a node operator, what you're doing is you're just facilitating resources from your server, primarily web space, so hard drive space, so that all these developers can then deploy. And it's an amazing platform. It's got really good backing. I really see them being one of the leaders in the decentralized infrastructure space.
Okay. I know there's a lot of helium miners out there, like HNT. Are you familiar with helium? And is that something that, because it's very cost effective, the barrier to entry is very low, and there can be something to be said about the networking, the community that you can build and you can profit. Is that something you'd recommend?
Yes, definitely. I've wanted to get in myself, but it's been pretty hard to get a hold of the hardware because a lot of people were getting into it. They were having a lot of demand. And I know that some people were waiting as long as like 9-10 months to actually receive their order. But it's definitely something that I'm going to look into. And especially now, if we are in some kind of bear market, we're going to see a lot of interest kind of fade away from crypto, which is good for those of us that realize the potential and decide to stay in the market. This is going to be the perfect time for us to pick up some of those helium miners. I've heard of some other type of miners, like some of them that count foot traffic. So if you have a storefront, you can put a little device that counts the people that are coming in. And then what they do is it's actually a really smart way of monetizing data, because we know we've experienced it the last few years with the whole Facebook fiasco that, data is super important and these companies are making a huge buck on the data that you're giving to them for free. So what blockchain is creating is just a way for you to monetize off your own data. So if you have a storefront, you're providing data about the number of customers that are coming in, for example. So there's a lot of use cases like that that are starting to show up, which are super interesting.
Okay. So when you're choosing a vehicle to invest your money where you want to earn interest on, what fundamentals are you looking for? Is it an APY? Are you looking to increase the amount of tokens that you have, or are you looking for price appreciation? Give us some insight and mindset around that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of all that you said, but it all depends. So, for example, if it's an investment that is a bigger portion of my portfolio, then I'm really going to be methodical. I'm going to check the team. I'm going to check the use case. I'm going to check the utility, what they're trying to solve. Is there a problem? Are they providing a solution? I'm really going to be making sure that I minimize the risk. Again, anything in crypto is still super risky, but I'll do my due diligence to make sure that I'm minimizing the risk. If it's one of those like smaller percentages that I don't consider any money play money, but for this, for the lack of a better word, let's say play money, where you're okay if you don't get that money back, then I'll still look at the team. Like that's something that I've adopted into my own personal strategy when investing, is that I actually look at people first. So who's the team? First of all, I don't think anyone should ever invest in any crypto project that you don't know who the team is, that the team is anonymous. They use the term doxed. So if you don't know who the team is, if the team they're staying private, anonymous, usually to me, that's a red flag, because if you have good intentions and you think you got something good, then why would you try to hide yourself? Why would you not want the public to know who you are? So just the team. If I'm doing a little bit more of a risky investment, then I'll do the team. If the team is doxed, we know who they are. They I don't know. Most of the time they just put like a LinkedIn profile, and then I'll look at the use case and see if it's something that I personally align with too. Yeah.
That's some great insight. I really appreciate you sharing that with everybody. I know at first it's a lot to digest and process, and it's a different language, but you and I both know, after some time, after some repetition, you start to build these connections, just like if you were learning a second language or a new skill set. So we really appreciate all that wisdom, because the more you know, the more knowledge you can apply. So thank you so much. And it sounds like you're
Thank
wearing
you.
a lot of different hats. How do you keep it all balanced? I know freedom is very important to you, and that's a value to buy back as much of your time as possible. But, in the interim, how do you keep it all balanced? Or how do you relieve stress?
Well, it's easier said than done, that's for sure. Like it really isn't easy to be a father, husband, boss, and at the same time you're trying to look after yourself too, because the better you are with yourself, the better you can be towards other people. And as well as freedom, I'm really trying to impact other people's lives as much as I can. If I'm able to, like I have employees, if I'm able to impact their life, like I'm always telling them the same things that I would say to a friend, I'm telling them because I want, if I care for them, then I want them to do well. I want them to create freedom for themselves. And if one day they end up not working for me anymore because they're going out and creating their own business, then to me, that's a mission accomplished. And yeah, like you said, it's really not easy. A lot of the things that I find that help me stay motivated and centered is actually begins with myself. It begins with exercising, meditating, just keeping my mind active with activities that are healthy. Going out with my family, disconnecting completely from, which is not easy, from your phone and all these different group chats that you could be in. And is the crypto market up today? One of the things that I've been dealing recently is, especially since the market started this downturn, every time I picked up my phone, I found myself just opening up the CoinMarketCap app and looking at the prices and just scrolling. And then I'll be like, why am I scrolling through this? I just checked it an hour ago, and I would be doing this consistently throughout the day. And it was just like a subconscious activity, but it was actually a very negative and not so healthy subconscious activity. So really just disconnecting, being present in the moment is super important. If you're spending time with your family, then spend time with your family. If you're at work and you've got your employees or you've got your colleagues or then that's what you're doing. If you're with your wife, then be present with your wife. But again, it's easier said than done. Absolutely. I struggle with it all the time, and I try to come to center many times.
Definitely. I'm right there with you. And, meditation has come into play big time for me in the last couple of years. Probably after I started watching Coach JV, and I started following him, right after COVID. Yep. And, I was already on my own self-development journey, and he kind of added fuel to the fire, and he kind of just told me what I needed to hear. And I was like, man, all right. And he was like, hey, when everyone, they want you to look over here, but like what's going on over here? And if everyone's going that way, you don't have to go that way.
100%.
Yeah.
And I do want to say as well, I want to take the moment to say that I relate 100% because Coach JV, he definitely changed the game for me 100%. I was also in this self-development, trying to just better myself. And when I came across Coach JV and I joined the academy and I started really participating and engaging with the community, it really changed my mindset towards everything, towards the way that I looked at my time, towards the way that I looked at my family, the way that I valued my family, the way that I valued my businesses, my employees. And definitely it was a game changer for me too. Like I'm so grateful that I came across Coach JV.
Definitely. I am too. And yeah, he'll be a mentor of mine forever. And, the most valuable lesson I learned is everything that we need is already within us. And, we've been seeking this external something. We don't know what it is, but we feel like, oh, I got this emptiness inside, and something outside of me is going to fill that and make me happy. And gosh, once you start to be still and be present and enjoy, but it is a lot easier said than done, but for those people, because meditation is not taught, and it's almost, it's like, oh, I don't have time for that. People are like, I don't really have time. We're so busy. So how does somebody who, maybe isn't so keen of meditating and they don't know even what to do, what's a good practice that they could start to implement in their life today?
Definitely. I forgot to mention one thing, which is actually the most impactful thing for me that I do way more consistently than I do meditation, which is cold showers. I do cold showers consistently every single day. Every single time I take a shower, it's cold. And to me, it's a practice of mind control because it's very uncomfortable. especially in the winter here in New Jersey, gets very cold and the water hurts as it's hitting your body. So it's very uncomfortable. And if you can control your mind and you're able to tell yourself that you can do it and you go through it and you do it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, usually my cold showers last, and I come out a different person. Like as I'm coming out of the shower, I feel like I was reborn. It's like a sense of accomplishment. It's insane. But meditation, I haven't been able to really be consistent and master meditation. I have a brain that's constantly thinking. I guess you could say that I do overthink a lot of stuff, and meditating for me is really hard. I have a very hard time just sitting there being present in the moment and not thinking about anything else. But I think guided meditation for somebody that's starting out might be good, because you're concentrating on this person's voice and they're guiding you through the meditation practice. But eventually, you do want to start moving into not guided. That's really going to take you to a whole different level, and just being disciplined to. And again, I'm saying this because I've heard it. I haven't been able to master it myself, so I don't want to false preach here.
No, definitely. It's a journey for everybody, and the journey continues, and there's no pinnacle or destination. And the day that we die, we're gonna have woken up that day still wanting to be better, still not being at that complete stage. So that's really great, and that's something that for me, I didn't see the importance in it. I thought it was kind of some mumbo jumbo kind of stuff, and it wasn't going to work for me, so I didn't even put the effort in. And once I started, I'll never go back. And I start my day that way, in silence, in peace, and try to just quiet your thoughts. So Mario, I really appreciate all your insight and wisdom and just humbleness. You've accomplished so much in such a short amount of time. And I know that you might not think so. And you have, a huge vision ahead. So what are you up to right now? And what is your vision for the future?
So right now I'm working on creating a little bit more self-dependency for the businesses that I have, the 2 stores that I have. The one thing that I've spent, I want to say 7 years, close to 7 years, as I've operated this business, is I've been a very hands-on kind of owner where the business depended on me for everything. So I was the owner, I was the manager, I was the person ordering, I was the person handling the customers, I was the person doing everything. And yes, I had employees, and I don't want to take that away from them. I couldn't have done it without them. Mm-hmm. But I created essentially a job for myself. And more recently, I've been trying to delegate more stuff. I've been trying to make those businesses more sustainable without me having 100% of the time.
That's extremely hard, because I am a control freak, at heart. And it is hard because sometimes I feel like I can't relinquish that control, because I know the job's not going to get done as good if I'm, as if I'm going to do it. But I mean, if we teach them how to fish, then they should know the expectation. They should know how to get the job done. And if not, well, then there's someone else that will fill the role. But
absolutely,
that's pretty mature of you, man, because that's something that I struggle with, and I'm working on. And as I'm taking on more, it's like, okay, what can I reprioritize, and what can I take off my plate and put on someone else's plate? Because by us putting something on someone else's plate also empowers them as well. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I'm trying to work through. So tell me a little bit about Phoenix Crypto Assets. What is that?
So Phoenix Crypto Assets is one of the reasons why I had to start delegating more stuff to my employees, because I just couldn't be everywhere at once. So Phoenix Crypto Assets is essentially a crypto fund. We don't really invest in hard assets. We invest only in vehicles that generate some type of passive income. So assets that generate a passive income, whether those are nodes or NFTs or metaverse land, metaverse assets, just anything that's generating some kind of passive income. We're not going to go and buy Bitcoin and just let it sit there. We're not going to go and buy Ethereum and just sit there. Like my expertise with the nodes. So what I bring to the table is I'm the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, and I make sure that I'm doing my part as far as recommending the the passive income of the nodes that we can include for the funds. And then we have an NFT expert, we have a metaverse expert. And so a portion of the fund gets allocated to those assets as well. And so we just make it easier for people to get exposure to the space and essentially passive income. That's what we're providing for our investors, passive income.
Wow, that's incredible. And do you have to be an accredited investor to get involved?
Unfortunately, you do. Within the US, you do have, within the US, and because we're in the US, if you're from another country, you have to meet the criteria for your country of being an accredited investor. For those in the UK, a sophisticated investor. I think that's what they call them.
That's amazing. And I know it takes a lot of time and effort to create a fund, and you guys have a great community. I mean, it's so amazing just what you guys have been able to build. So Mario, where can our listeners find you? I hope you talk about the Good Morning Crypto Show, because that I have loved the Good Morning Crypto Show. It's helped me a lot. It's kind of filled that place in the morning, and it starts my day, gets me up to speed, with the news and market trends and, things to look out for. So it's been a great resource for me. So I appreciate all the work that you have put into it. So yeah, tell us where the listeners can find you, Mario.
Yeah, so you can find me on the Good Morning Crypto Show. Like you just said, we do this daily from Monday to Friday at, I'm going to say the time in the Eastern time, because, it's going to be different, but 11 a.m. Eastern. And
that's why it's so great, because it's 8 a.m. for me. And I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah.
You're getting your day started. Yeah. So I'm usually there 3 to 4 times per week. I usually make my appearance there 3-4 times per week. I am also part of the crypto research team for the 3T Warrior Academy, which is the academy that Coach JV owns. And outside of that, on social media, you can find me on Instagram. I am more active on Twitter. That's where I do spend most of my time as far as social media. And that's all my social handles are the same, NodeDefender. And yes, I do talk more about crypto, but I do like to give a little bit of mindset talk once in a while, at least once a day. I like to put just some uplifting words just to keep people in a positive mindset.
That's so important. Yeah. Especially nowadays when the media is almost filling our plate with all this negative stuff. And we're just trying to sift through it. And I mean, we got our own bills to pay. We got our own things, to figure out. We don't need any of that extra negativity. It's hard enough as it is. I am so grateful for your time.
I appreciate you bringing me on. I appreciate you giving me the time to share my story. It's a real pleasure to be here. And thank you to everyone that's listening in.
Congrats on that little boy, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Please like this podcast, share on your feed, and check out the link in the description for free educational resources or for business inquiries. This is the Wealth and Wellness with Eric Jetson Podcast. It's time to activate and elevate. Your journey continues.